Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night Football, our final match reaction show for today. And after a bit of debate, I decided that let's do this one. Let's do the match reaction. It finishes Arsenal 1, Wolves 2. A big win for Wolverhampton Wanderers over Arsenal. Arsenal's third home defeat on the bounce. Wolves' first win at the Emirates in the league over Arsenal in almost 30 years, or more than 30 years actually, since the 70s, I think. It's the first time that they've won. And I mean, is it time? I mean, is it time for Arteta is it time for fans and for the board to consider Arteta's position at the club? I mean, is he's got to be probably the most under pressure manager at the moment because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer won today. So yeah, I think he's got to be under a lot of pressure right now because Arsenal looked pretty bad. I think they looked hopeless. They looked clueless, and they had apps. I mean, until the point of the substitutions that Wolves made, Arsenal seemed to have no answer and no intent. It looked like as if they had absolutely no desire to win that game because they just looked like the ghosts out there. Like they were seeing ghosts out there. And I put this tweet out actually. I was like trying to figure out what the Arsenal 11 was, and I was saying, who's the 11th player? Who's the 11th player? And then suddenly I realized, oh yeah, it's Willian. Willian's 11th player. Like that. It's when you start to think about it. Willian, and he's not. And this is not a personal attack on Willian. He's got a role to play in the side. He was bought for a reason. The issue is Willian is symptomatic of problems because Willian offers nothing offensively. He's not off. He didn't offer much offensively to Chelsea in his final season, or season or so. He didn't, and he doesn't offer. He's not been offering much for Arsenal, and he wasn't doing much defensively either because clearly, I mean, the wingers were just wreaking havoc on on that Arsenal defense, and there's absolutely no help for the fullbacks from their wingers. So I mean, it's things like that, little things like that make a difference. Willian absolutely had a poor game, but he wasn't the only one. There were lots of players who had poor games, but we'll get into player performances in a bit. To talk about it, I think Wolves have played with the back four. They normally play with the back three, but they switched to the back four against Southampton. They kept that today, and it worked very well because it allowed them to. And the commentators kept harping on about it, but I think it does allow them to play Neto, Traore, and Podence, and it gives them those options of having players that can run at the defense, and it made a big difference today. Sadly, of course, Raul Jimenez got injured early on, and our thoughts and well wishes are with him, and hopefully he makes a full recovery and a very speedy recovery. There was news that he has regained consciousness once he went to the hospital. So let's hope for good news to come, and hopefully it isn't anything more than just an injury concern, and he'll be back on the pitch very very soon. But even despite that, I think also a lot of mental resilience because oftentimes players can get deflated. There can be a lot of you can probably go into your shell, or you can get a little bit shell shocked, when you see something like that happen. But very to Wolves, they kept fighting. I think no, the issue but going back to that first goal and that second goal, both of them more or less came from the wings, right? It was like good wing play. It was good play from Traore actually for that first goal where he went across the wing and Tierney switched off for a moment, and then the ball comes in, and then Donker should score, but it's lucky that the rebound falls to Neto and then he puts it into the net. And then Arsenal equalized very quickly after that. It was good from Arsenal. I mean, it was a good play. It was a corner. And it was a free header. And I think throughout the game, Arsenal had the better of Wolves in corners and on headers, like set pieces. I think they, in offensive set pieces, at least they looked like they could jump over the ball. They were getting the better of them in the air. The issue was the set piece deliveries often left a lot to be desired. So even though Arsenal players were, jumping above Wolves, they were winning headers and all of that, the delivery was never really that good, or their final header, actual header was not good. So the finishing was lacking. Either the final pass was lacking, or the finishing was lacking, and that goes back to a lot of issues. But that second goal from Wolves, this great play from Traore to the middle. It comes to Neto, who quickly, I mean, who gets it away, and then there's a shot on goal. I can't remember who was. I think it might have been Dendoncker who might have made that shot, but I can't remember. But if you know in the comments, let me know. And that shot, and I think Leno should have done much better on that shot, because the moment he's either got to catch it, or he's got to palm it away further. And I know it's coming at speed, but top goalkeepers, if you want to be a top goalkeeper, you've got to make those kind of saves where you either push it around the post or you put it very far away outside the box. The way the way he saved it, he pretty much just left it on the path of Podence, and it still required some work from Podence, but he should never really put a striker in a position from where he can take a shot, and he did that, and then Podence just scored, and that was 2-1. And then after that, I think Wolves controlled the game pretty much. And again, the Arsenal defense today had an off day, and they'll always have off days. There will always be off days for defenses. You're gonna have that, yeah, just like offense will have offensive players will have off days. So that happens. What you want in those situations is to have the other half. So if an offensive team is, if your offensive players are having an off day, what you want as a defense to do is you want to make sure that you don't concede a goal, or that you're at the top of your game, so that even is that if the offensive one player, somebody can go and grab a goal, nick a goal, then you've got a 1-0 win and you can take that and go. And then same ways, when the defense is an off day, where they're conceding a sloppy goal or two, you want the offense to be on form enough to go score 3 or 4 goals. So that it doesn't matter. So you want that to happen. It won't happen every time, obviously, but that's what you want to happen. I think Arsenal, their offense has been misfiring for so long now, that when their defense finally had an off day, the offense still couldn't keep up. And Arsenal's defense has been pretty good this season. I think they have been pretty good this season. You have to say that. And even today, actually, Gabriel looked. He had pretty much Fabio Silva under control. I think it was just at one moment when Fabio Silva turned and got the better of him. But otherwise, Gabriel had the measure of Fabio Silva throughout the game. So offensively, defensively, they were not that good today, but then they have been pretty good throughout the season. So you expected to have an off day, and the offense just hasn't stepped up. And I mean that it was painful to watch at times. The kind of things that Arsenal were trying. I mean, there were so many times when they were just running down blind alleys, blind channels, or making aimless crosses into the box. Aubameyang, I mean, he just looks. I don't know what's happened to him, but he looks like he. I mean, he got a new contract, and a lot of people will say this. Aubameyang got a new contract, and now he's pretty much decided to vacation it. But I mean, that's something there, isn't it? It's same with Ozil. He got a big contract, and then his performances dropped off a cliff. The same's happening with Aubameyang. The same happened, and that's the worry for Arsenal fans, because Aubameyang probably is the one genuinely top class player that they have at the moment in the team, and for him, along with Thomas Partey, actually, you probably have two. I think they're really missing Thomas Partey, but Aubameyang is one of those top class players, and if he's not performing, that really puts a big strain on the rest of the team. So and he's the captain as well, so you can only imagine. But he's struggling. He's struggling big time. I think Arsenal is struggling big time without Thomas Partey because he really knits that midfield together. Not having him in the team is making a massive difference because it automatically puts Arsenal on the back foot when they start games. So they need him back. They really need him back as soon as they can, because he's a key fulcrum of that team. I mean, what else can you say about Arsenal? I mean, it's a difficult time for them, and again, going back to this, Arsenal made the game at the end would look a lot closer than it actually was, because there were quite a few shots at the end that Arsenal had. There were quite a bit of possession that Arsenal had, and that was because at the 60th minute, I think, 70th minute, Espirito Santo decided, I'm going to go for the win, and he brought on Ruben Neves for Daniel Podence, and that changed the game completely. Because once, as soon as he took out Podence and he brought on Neves, he went to a back five, and Podence had that threat because he was keeping on running because he has that pace, so he keeps running down, at the defenders. So the defenders are backing off of him a little bit because you don't want to give up space. Whereas once Neves came on, it was like clear they're not going to have that. They're going to try to go through, and so Arsenal players were able to step up a little bit. They were able to be a little bit more aggressive, and once they were allowed that, then they started creating chances. But I mean, the lack of finishing is there for everyone to see. There's still the lack of final passes, the lack of finishing. That is still a problem, and it was it nearly cost Wolves. It did nearly cost them, but credit to them for holding on till the end and picking up a well-deserved win. And Wolves have had some issues this season as well. They have not been at their very best as they were last season, but they're starting to pick up now. They're starting to look a little bit better, and maybe this will be a springboard for better things to come. For Arsenal, though, I mean, is this the worst Arsenal team of the 21st century? I mean, you'd be hard pressed to make a case against it. I think it is, but I mean, where from Arsenal have really fallen off a cliff here, especially considering the fact that they won the FA Cup last season, they beat Liverpool in the Community Shield, they beat them in the League Cup as well, and yet they're struggling in the league, and I don't know what the issues are. And they're not doing too badly in the Europa League, although that's a much lower level, but they're not doing too badly in the Europa League. So maybe there is an issue in the Premier League where they're expected to win games and they're not being able to win. But they have this when teams need to win games, because in a cup tie most teams play to win. You don't normally play for a draw because you're not really getting a draw. So you're playing for a win. They're pretty good in that, but once they have to play where they have to be the dominant team, where they have to fight, they just seem to lack a little something. And it's going to be tough for them to recover from all this. It's going to be tough for them to. I think they're pretty much out of the top four race now at this point. I think finished winning the Europa League is probably the best bet of getting into the Champions League now. Although whether that's going to happen or not is anybody's guess. And they're going to be in a fight even for those Europa League or Conference League spots now. It's starting to get look a little bit bleak there as well for them. I don't think they'll be in a relegation battle. I know a lot of people are. Some people are going overboard with that. I don't think there'll be in a relegation battle, but there are some tough times ahead for them. I think man of the match, official man of the match was Pedro Neto. I think that's fine. I think that's a fair choice. I'd probably give it to Adama Traore or Podence, because I felt they carried. Adama Traore for me carried a lot more threat, because every time, the thing about it is, if you go numbers and stats, yes, Pedro Neto is a well-deserved winner. But I think that the fear that Adama Traore had on that Arsenal defense, every time he had the ball, he was running with it, and the players were like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" So that fear for me, that just makes him man of the match, because Arsenal would kill for a player like that right now, to be honest. But he just made that Arsenal defense look amateurish, that's my pick. But I'm not making an official pick here. But yeah, I'll probably give it to Adama Traore. But let me know. Feel free to let me know in the comments. What do you think? Who do you think should be the man of the match in this game? Probably you have a different opinion. Maybe Joao Moutinho, who I thought was excellent again. It's hard to believe he's 34. He's been all around the place, hasn't he? He's been in Porto. He's been in Monaco. He's 34 now. Feels like he's been around forever, but he still plays like he's 24. And I remember when he was linked with Manchester United not so long ago. But an incredible, amazing player as well, and very lucky to have him. Wolves are very, very lucky to have him in the side. But that's just my reaction. I think it's difficult to talk about it. I'm not an Arsenal fan, so I don't want to go. I don't want to be too critical about Arsenal. But it just, there's something missing at the club. And this time maybe Arteta. Again, let's talk about Arteta a little bit, because there's no doubting in my mind that he's made that defense a lot more secure than it was. Maybe that was because of Thomas Partey for a while. Maybe there was something else. But we have to give Arteta the benefit of the doubt that the defense looks much better this season than it has in a long, long time. The issue is, in reinforcing that defense, he's basically left that offense vulnerable. He's basically, and that works sometimes, where you say, you know what, I'd be okay if we can win 1-0. That's fine. We'll take 1-0 wins when we can get them, or 2-1 wins when we can get them, because we would rather win or draw those games. And sometimes we'll probably draw a game, or we'll probably scrape a game, but that's okay. The issue is, once you start losing games and not winning them as much, then that becomes an issue. And I think the creativity has been sacrificed, because he wants to have that base of defensive players, and because he wants to make sure that Arsenal don't lose. He's sacrificing that winning mentality. And once you start doing that, what happens is, once you start playing for draws, or once you start thinking from a perspective of, we'll take a draw here, then you start to lose that offensive mindset, and then it slowly starts to permeate in that, that when you get those chances, you're unable to take them. And then there's a lack of, obviously the team is set up in a way that they're not going to create a lot of chances. So you need strikers who are clinical and who are going to finish those chances. And that's not happening, because obviously the strikers, some strikers, Aubameyang has always been a striker who needs a lot of chances to score goals. If you're not going to give him a lot of chances, he's not going to be as effective. And it seems like he's not getting a lot of chances at the moment, and maybe that's what's reducing his efficiency. I'm not making excuses, but it looks like I think Arteta needs to rethink what he wants to do. If he wants to continue on this run of being hard to beat, defensive, then that's fine, and he's going to have to live and die by that sword. But I think, but if the results don't improve and he keeps playing this way, then it's going to be a problem. But on the other hand, maybe he can switch to a more offensive solution. And maybe that's the idea. Maybe once he has Partey back, maybe his preferred midfield is Partey, Ceballos, and Xhaka. And then, that gives them a little bit of creativity and a bit of flair and a bit of steel. And maybe that is what he's waiting for. But, you can't always, not have a plan B. So, even if Partey is not available, they need to think about some way to increase that creative threat that they don't have at the moment. And they've got to figure out. Today, probably Willock was probably playing as a number 10. I'm assuming Willock was playing as a number 10. It was hard to decipher whether it was Willock or Willian who was playing as a number 10, but I would assume it was Willock was playing there. Maybe they were interchanging, but then I think it was Willian, Saka, and Aubameyang that were the front three. But they need to figure out what they need to do with Willian, because he wasn't offering much threat offensively, and he didn't offer much defensively. So what's really he in the team for? Well, what is he doing in that team? Then if he's not going to be able to do either of those two roles, so that's something as well to figure out. The issue, of course, is that his replacement Pepe is he was suspended obviously, and he hasn't really done that well this season either. So there are issues. There are issues for Arsenal. I think I'm sure the fans. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of meltdown on Twitter. But let me know what you thought of the game. What did you think of Arsenal's performance? What do you think of Arteta's tactics? What do you think of? And again, I think in this game he probably should have stuck with the back three, because when you realize that the threat that Wolves possess on the wings, on the flanks, then you've got to ensure that you've got extra protection in your back line, especially for when Arsenal is so defensive. They needed that extra protection, and since they didn't have Partey as well. But so he probably got that wrong. I mean, if you really wanted to go defensive, then you got to commit to it. And I think he was probably caught in that two minds of whether I should be defensive. I play a back five against Wolves. People would think I'm too defensive, so I'm going to go with a back four. But then you're kind of going with the back four, but then you're not. But you're basically playing into Wolves' hands, offensively. So I think he got it wrong today, but that happens. Managers get it wrong. Hopefully, he can learn from that. Hopefully, he can learn from that for the next game. But we shall see. At the moment, it's looking pretty bleak for Arsenal. But that is Arsenal 1, Wolves 2 final score. Great win for Wolves. Poor performance from Arsenal. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the game, and what do you think? Where do you think Arsenal are headed this season, and what they can do to improve and change and get better, and try and salvage their season going forward. Let me know your man of the match as well, and who you thought played well, didn't play well. Happy to hear from you. Always love hearing comments and feedback from my listeners. And remember to like the video if you enjoyed this episode, and also remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new. With almost at 120 subscribers, so please help us cross that. We want to keep producing great content for you, and we want to keep making sure that you're engaged and you're entertained. So please support us, and we can keep doing this, and we want to keep doing this. So your subscription really helps us in keeping on producing this content. We don't charge for content, so we rely on subscribers to be able to keep providing up the content on this channel. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your evening or your morning, whatever time you're watching this. Have a good week. We'll be back with some content this week. The Champions League resumes starting Tuesday, so we'll try to see how we can provide what kind of content we can provide for that. Maybe we'll do a match reaction show, maybe not. We'll see how the schedule works out, and maybe we'll have some other content as well. But stay tuned. If you subscribe, you get notifications as soon as we go online. So keep that in mind. And obviously, follow our social channels on Facebook, Twitter. Links are in the description below, so you get information about that. As you'll get information about what we're doing as well. But have a good evening, have a good day, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.